Hello art stars, I hope that you're doing well today. Today's going to be lots of fun. We're going to be creating something called a collagraph print, and what you're going to need is I'm using some PVA glue. I'm running a bit low, so I've cut my bottle in half. So PVA glue, if you don't have PVA, you can use a glue stick. It doesn't work, it doesn't stick quite as well as PVA, but if you don't have PVA, a glue stick will do, or you can make your own glue. As we spoke about the other week, just using equal quantities of flour and water. PVA is ideal, but if you don't have that, the other things will do the job. So it's some PVA glue, a pair of scissors, some paints. I'm going to use acrylics today. I believe you should have some powder paints in your kit. If not, just use some, or if you prefer, acrylics are fine, or poster paints, anything like that. So powder paints, acrylics, poster paints will work really well. You'll need some little pieces of cardboard. So I've just cut up some cardboard boxes. One of them's a tester, so it doesn't matter too much. And then you're going to want one to make your actual print out of. And if you enjoy doing the printmaking and you've got some time left, you might want to make 2 or 3. So if you have some more that are the same size. Cardboard, it can be the back of a notebook, or just some thick paper would do the job as well, that's fine. A sheet of white paper, A4, A3, whatever you've got is fine, just plain white paper, and some little bits to make our print out of. So collagraph printing is basically making a plate, as we call it, or using some cardboard or paper as a background, and then we stick some objects onto it, we paint over the top and make a print out of it. So we need some objects that we can stick down. I've got here some little scrunched up pieces of tissue paper. I hold on to bits of tin foil. It's good to recycle rather than just getting some new stuff out. Hold on to bits for next time, or if you're getting something out of the fridge, scrunch up some of the tin foil. Dried spaghetti works well. Rough scour end from sponges. String works really well, or wool or cord work really, really well. I've got these little bits of wood as well. Oops, bits of wood, and lollipop sticks work very nicely. Anything you've got really, just bits from around the house. So things with interesting textures or surfaces. It could be old clothes that you've cut up, cotton wool, lentils, dry food like we used the other week, spaghetti, lace looks really nice, or old bits of fabric, shoelaces, anything like that that we can stick down. Oh, and rubber bands as well. So there's nothing really set or fixed you have to do. It's whatever you can find and get hold of in the house is absolutely fine. And like I say, it's good if we can utilise what we've got and recycle it, and also rather than spending money buying new things as well. So that's really good. What you're going to do to start, I'm just going to pop these to one side. What we're going to do to start is we're going to do something called a test print. So here's one I've done earlier. So this isn't about the final outcome, it's about testing how the objects look when we print from them. So like I say, here's one I've done earlier. So I've stuck all of my objects using PVA glue onto a piece of cardboard, pressed them down, and this is what I've come up with. And from doing this, it's always good when we're creating art to test things first and see how they look. I can see what kind of lines and effects I've made. So I really like the wool I've got there, and if you look really closely, the cord, it's like a piece of white cord down, that's got some really interesting marks and textures in. Rubber band, created quite a clear line there, which is quite nice. The tin foil I stuck down there, that's come out a bit broken, you can't see it so well, but it could be good for a background image or a tree, something like that. Oh, and feather as well, it's quite interesting. So we make a test just to see how pieces come out. So what you're going to do is, if you take one of your pieces of card, I'm going to use my smaller one, I think, and your PVA glue. Oh, and a paintbrush as well. If you use an old one for the glue, don't necessarily paint with. If you've got a older ones. And what we're going to do, like I said, this is just a little test. We just pop some glue down. Be quite generous with your application of the glue so that your objects stick down and they don't come off. I'm just going to stick them over the test. And like I say, this is just to give us a clear idea of how they look when we print. I'm going to use some tissue paper. Any kind of paper works well for this, so you could try just some flat pieces or some scrunched up pieces. Just fill up your little test piece of card or paper with whatever objects you've got, and you're going to pop them aside to dry about 20 minutes, just because we don't want anything to come off when we're printing. And while you're waiting for it to dry, take one of your other sheets of cardboard and just with a pencil or pen, just do a drawing over the top. So here's one I did earlier. I've done a little rabbit with some flowers. It can be anything that the drawing can be of anything that you like. It could be a tree, it could be a landscape, it could be a face, anything that you'd like to do. Try not to make it too detailed, just because it's going to be harder to glue over the top of. So just, like I say, keep the image nice and big. Oh yeah, with the cardboard size, there's no set size. I've done quite a small piece here because I want to make a stamp and I want it to fit into my paper several times. So this should fit in about 4 or 5 times, or sorry, 4 or 6 times into my paper. So just a sheet that's smaller than A4, it could be half the size of A4, which would be A5, or you could just cut out a little square or rectangle. That's up to you. That's the cardboard, that's absolutely fine. Okay, and then when your piece is dry, so I'm going to grab one I did earlier, what you're going to do is use your paints. So I'm going to use, what colour shall I use? I think I'm going to use a bit of purple and grey. I'm just going to use 2 colours. You can use more if you want, for your picture or for your test, just to see how it comes out against the object. So I'm going to use my acrylics. For this bit, it's important that we paint very quickly, just because it dries quickly otherwise, and it's hard to get a print. So I get my brush nice and wet in the jar. It's my paint palette. It's very old, got some old dry paint on there. And it's quite a thick brush for this, so I can get it painted quickly. And then, using quite a thick layer of paint, just paint over your picture, or your test rather, just the bits you've stuck down are fine, don't worry so much about the background. Remember, this is just a test, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just to give you an idea of how the objects come out when we make a print from them, so you can make a choice with your artwork that you're going to make next, which bits you're going to use and where, what looks good. Some grey as well, let's just use a bit of the grey. Like I say, we need to work really quickly, because if it dries, we won't be able to get a print from it. So just making sure that it remains wet. Like I said, this is our print. There we go. Okay, and this is my paper. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put it down. Like I say, working quickly, really push it down with the objects and the paint facing downwards. Really apply a lot of pressure. Spend a minute doing this so that everything comes through. And now we should get an idea of how the objects look. There we go. That's quite nice. A few of my lentils. I stuck some lentils on. They've come off. There we go. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Like I say, the cord comes out really nicely, and the wool. We've got the piece of wood in the middle, different textures and lines and marks. The paper and foil at the top is not as bold, not as clear, but that could be interesting for a background image, or say if you're doing a person and you want to create some hair. So brilliant, that's your test piece. And then what you're going to do, now that we know how the different objects look, you're going to pick up your little drawing that you've done on the cardboard. Like I said, I've done a bunny here, a little rabbit. And we're going to do the same thing. So put a very thick layer of PVA glue on and stick down the objects one at a time. Like I said, it needs to be thick. You need to be quite generous with it, so that it doesn't, that the objects don't come off. I think I can see from my picture, I get quite a nice thin, clear line from my dry spaghetti. So I think for the outline, I'd like to do some dry spaghetti around the outside. So I stick that all the way round, so the glue doesn't dry. Just do one area at a time, so don't put the glue over the whole picture. Just do one little bit at a time. I go around the whole of my outline with the dry spaghetti. So I won't do it all now, just it's going to be a bit long for you watching, but so you can see around the outside. I go around the outline, and then for the inside of the ear, I want that to look quite fluffy, as yeah, rabbits are furry. So nice dollop of glue, I'm going to fill up that whole area, and then I'm going to use, like I said, I'm quite keen with how the wools come out on my test, so I'm going to use a little bit of wool to fill in the bunny's ear, like that. And I think for the eye, I'm going to do maybe a little scrunched up piece of tin foil. So like I say, it's making decisions from your test on what textures you're going to get, marks you're going to get from your objects, and which objects are most appropriate for what you're doing. Like I say, if you're doing a person, for the hair you might want something a bit more fluffy. For the outline you might want something that gives you quite a clear, crisp, thin line. Or like I say, whatever you're doing, whatever you think will suit what you're doing. So you just go around the whole picture. And here's one that I did earlier. So I painted over this one to do my test. And I printed it a number of times, and I created this print like this. So we've got all the little bunny heads in different colours with the flowers underneath them. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to do my first test on the same sheet as our test that we made before. So I'll put them side by side just to see how it comes out and decide on how much paint I want, if I want more or less, if I want to make any changes. So again, as we did before, we're going to have to work very quickly now. So using your whatever paint you've got, keep them nice and watered down. I'm going to go over everything that we've glued, and this is quite fun and quite an interesting process, because we can, when we're making collagraph prints, we can try out different things. So we can see how it looks with quite a lot of paint. Maybe if there's too much, we then try one with less. We can try one with different colours. That's how we develop our ideas, and how artists get the results they want. They practice first, they make test runs, they play. I put my grey on. I'm going to put a bit of pink on. So like I say, just work really quickly when you're painting. dry quite quickly. I think I've gone over everything. So I just popped a layer of grey and paint over the top. And I'm just going to test it on my paper here to see how it comes out next to my test piece. So I'm going to hold it down just as we did before. Really apply pressure. Really take a minute, make sure that you rub in all areas so that the image comes out. Like this. And ta-da! Let's see. There we go. So this time, see, it's come out quite lightly, which is quite nice. We can see a very faded outline for it. So I know for the next one, I might want to try one with adding a little bit more paint. So get a bit more paint out. So like I say, this is how we learn and we develop our skills. We practice and we try different things. We can try it with more, less, different colours. And what's nice about these is once you've got them, once you've done them, you've then, you know, you can keep them forever. Just dry them out and then come back to them later on. Try using different colours. Like I say, use them to create new artwork. Try them on different colour paper. Put some pink on, and I'm just going to quickly get some grey. I think I need some more. And I'm just using 2 colours for mine. You're welcome if you want to use more. You might want to stick to a limited colour palette, so where you're using just 2 colours or 3, or you might want to make yours very, very colourful. Just depends on what you're doing and how you want it to come out. Like if you're doing a landscape or some trees, you might want to keep it just quite a simple, more muted colour palette. You might be doing a rainbow or something very colourful. There we go. And what I'll do, I'm going to take another sheet of paper and I'm going to just align the cardboard with the edges, press down. And let's see how that's come out with a bit more paint on. Lovely. There we go. That's a bit clearer, isn't it, when we've got a bit more on. And what you can do, so once you've tried the one, if you want to, like I've done here, I've changed the colours. So I've done pink and green, and then I've done pink and grey, and then pink and green, and I've alternated it and printed them side by side. So you can change your colours, just align them so they're quite close together so they meet. Let's try another one using the same piece of card but not repainting over the top, and seeing how it looks with the grey and the pink, but with a lot less paint on. It's our second print. Let's just see. There we go. So we get a slightly more ghostly, lighter print that time. Still really nice. And then I could go on and fill up the whole page, or if you want to, you might just want to do the one. Or if you've got time, what would be really nice if you make two pieces of card the same size and do two pictures on them and then print them side by side. So for example, I could have another rabbit, another bunny facing the other way, and they'd be facing each other, or one with flowers on, or anything that you want for your stamp. Okay, and yeah, then you'll have made a collagraph print. So brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed this, guys, and I will see you a bit later on. I can't wait to see your creations and know how you've gotten on. So I'll see you soon. Have fun.